Hey everyone, my name's Adam Scott. I am the designer, head GM, and coordinator of RPG Club. We're a platform that builds long-term communities for players with excellent professional GMs. We built and run over 17,000 sessions, and this all started in a bar about 5 years ago when I was trying to make money, as well as trying to solve the problem, which is much more important, of everyone cancels on D&D night. So how do we get people together? So now we've built something much bigger. We have a platform. It's really awesome. Check out the link in our profile if you are interested. But moving on to what we want to talk about today. I have been asked by several people, both internally with RPG Club and just people that I know through social media, to produce a video discussing how do you promote yourself as a professional GM. If you are interested in the basics, I'll put the basics video down below. It's on my YouTube profile. But this video is going to be, it's going to share some ideas about how to get eyeballs on you and what you're all about, how to approach people who might be interested in your games through a specific strategy. And then I'm going to walk you through some of my Instagram feed just so you see what it looks like when I put some of that content out there. So let's do the bonus tip. Let's do this pro tip right up front. And the pro tip to get people engaged with what you're doing is actually don't sell them on anything. So if you're going to turn this video off in like 30 seconds, this is the most important thing. The mindset you need to have, or at least that I've had, that's been effective for me and many of the GMs that have worked with RPG Club, actually all the GMs who've been effective professionally, is to give until people ask. And here's why. You don't need to push stuff, or at least I feel like you don't need to push things in front of people saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Here's why. If you're trying to promote what you do and you're just sharing game listings, or you're putting out content saying, hey, come here, pay me money, I'm awesome. The person who's seeing it doesn't really have, they have no reason to actually click and pay you money. You haven't proven anything. You haven't demonstrated any value. They don't even know who you are. And I'm going to be honest, they really don't care who you are. So if you're a professional GM, or you're trying to put out games to have players come sign up at your games, you've got to get eyeballs on your content. You've got to get eyeballs on your games eventually, so people are interested. And the way to not do that is to just sell, to just say, look at this. Here's my listing. Please come buy something, because there's no reason for someone to buy. You haven't proven anything. So let's talk about how to put yourself in front of people in a way that doesn't feel super sleazy, that actually reflects who you are, or at least how I feel that I am, so that people who are interested in working with you will actually come to you and you can start a conversation. So let me pull this up, and I want to share something with you all, so that way you can actually see a document here. Give me 1 second to share my screen. This is an internal document we use with RPG Club. So when you are promoting yourself, when you are putting content out there, you want people to see your stuff. It's an eyeballs game. And if you don't do that, no one will come to you. But the trick is, how do you get people to come to you? So the idea is give till they ask. And then once people start asking for more, once somebody sees an Instagram feed or a YouTube feed or anything on social media or a website, then they might reach out and say, hey, I want to learn more. That's an appropriate time to talk about what kind of services you offer. But until you do that, or at least in my experience, which is, a couple $100,000 in the professional GMing space, and as well as the experience of many, if not all of the professional GMs with RPG Club, that's the only way it works. That's the only way to get people for the long term to come to your table, by promoting yourself through not selling, through not saying, hey, buy my stuff. What we found is very beneficial is to connect with people, have a sense of humor, demonstrate the way you think about role-playing games or things you find funny, or provide tips for people to improve their skills at the game. Because when you speak from the place of here's what I do, you're going to be able to share ideas with people. Here's what I do. Here's what works for me. Not you should sign up for my game or I'm awesome. It's a difference in context. And when you're in this professional space, asking for money to do something can be very awkward. People have a hard time just saying, yeah, sure, I want to play in a game, but you're going to charge me and I don't know you. So finding a way to connect with people is very important. Here's the playbook. This is what I tried to do. This is not, I don't do this all the time. I try to stick to it. My main media focus is on Instagram. So this is how I do my Instagram content. I typically share 5 to 7 reels a week. My understanding of short form content, short form videos, is that short form content is pushed out to new eyeballs. So whenever I put out a reel, I try to make it funny. I use an app called CapCut that produces videos, and how to do that, I'll produce another video at a different time. But in terms of the strategy, I use short form reel content and I push it out, and I try to make sure that it's accessible, that it's funny, that it's broad, that it's not super niche to some little thing that only 2 or 3 people will understand. I want people to see that I have a sense of humor, that I'm relatable, and they can get a sense of who I am. Now, the important thing, and this is a shout out to an author named Scot Oldford, who is a business writer, business builder. Several years ago, Scot Oldford wrote a book called The Nuclear Effect. I'll put the link down below if you're interested. He talks about this concept of being ever present on your media, of just being ever present, and also being putting out media content in a way where you force people to make a decision. So my goal is not to get everybody. Like, I, of course, would like to have people in my media space that are interested in what I'm doing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone will be interested in me. What I want people who are interested in the product that I provide, the service I provide, and who relate to me as a person. Think like, oh, wow, Adam seems like an approachable guy, or I like his style. Because there's nothing worse than it being in a business situation when someone comes to you and they expect one thing and you give them another, that's a bad fit, they're unhappy, you're taking money, it feels weird. So when you have people make a decision on you based on your content, they either say I'm in or I'm out. And what I've noticed in my social media is people either really like what I do or they really don't like it. And I'm okay with that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. How this can apply to you is when you put out short form reel content or posts that we'll talk about in a second, it's from your perspective, and it's designed to have people make a decision on you in some way. Like, oh, I like their sense of humor, or that person's kind of a jackass. I don't really like their sense of humor, or whatever. So that is a core idea, that if you can draw people to you through being authentic in your content, like who you really are comes through, and also being professional. Like, we got to remember, when you're trying to promote yourself and share what you do with people as a professional dungeon master, professional game master, if you're really abrasive, or at least, when I've tried more abrasive pieces of content, people really respond negatively. They're like, yeah, no, thank you. I don't want to be involved with this professional. This is not professional. So presenting yourself professionally, connecting with people in a positive way. Positivity is really important when you're doing something professionally, because that's what people want. People, from my point of view, in my experience, they don't want to pay money to a dungeon master, to a game master, to a service provider who's going to have a really negative, dark, frustrated view toward everything. They want, from my point of view and all of our experience, someone who's going to empower them, lift them up, support them, create positive, good energy, even if a campaign game or the theme is a little bit darker. And there's a subtle difference there, but let me know in the comments below if you have questions. So next things in terms of the strategy, I try to do 5 to 7 short form reel content posts a week. What's great is they can double on YouTube. So I'll download them to my phone, and then I'll repost them on YouTube with maybe a different caption that fits the YouTube audience a little bit better, because I want to just share what I do with people so that they can know what I'm all about. And it's okay if people like it or don't like it. That's not the point. The point is to have people make a decision and then share authentically what I'm all about. So then I try to start on Instagram specifically. I share posts, and I typically share 2 to 3 posts a week. I've been doing a little bit less of that recently, but that doesn't really matter. The idea is that when you're trying to share your media based on the algorithms of different social media platforms, it's important to use the different posting types or the different content sharing types. So Reels is very important to share with new eyeballs, people that have never seen you before. Whereas posts reach people that are more invested in what you're doing. So you can speak to a slightly different audience. Maybe that's a more appropriate piece of content for something a little more niche or a little more specific. And people that are more engaged with your content will see it, and then they may reach out, they may comment, and you can have a dialogue with them on that. Images I do use AI. I use Midjourney to create my images on my content. I don't sell the AI images. It's just something to engage people. And I found Midjourney is a really effective way to create images that are engaging and that people really enjoy interacting with. There are some people who don't like it, but I've also found that in my space, people who are interested in professional game mastering services tend to not care about whether or not an image is AI produced. I have noticed that folks that really don't like AI images are not really interested in playing in a professionally run role-playing game. So for me, it lets them know what I'm about, and they can make a decision based on their preferences, which is fine. So I try to post 2 to 3 times a week by using the post function on Instagram. Obviously, that doesn't replicate over to YouTube, but it does help with reaching a slightly different slice of my audience. One other pro tip that I found that's really useful is on Threads, Instagram's integrated kind of Twitter or X-ish platform. I do try to post on Threads several times a day to test out different content ideas, because that lets me see what people are interested in talking about and what they're not interested in talking about. So ones that do hit on Threads, ones that are effective, or topics people are like, wow, this is really cool, it's very easy to just repost that in a reel form over on Instagram. You just hit the button on your phone to share. It can share it to your feed and publish it as a reel, lay a cool music track down underneath it. And it's another way to create engagement with content that is most likely to succeed. And the more important thing is it's most likely to engage people that are interested in what you're doing. And that's the whole point of this. Remember, like, if you want to be a professional, you want people to see what you're doing, you've got to engage them and show them what you're all about, because we've served thousands of people. Very rarely does a person come in with no previous experience, just go directly to our platform and say, yes, I will purchase a ticket. Usually they're going to check out the dungeon master, the game masters. They're going to check out, say, what is this all about? I need some context. And your social media and your content that you share is a way for people to do that. It's a way for them to get an idea of who you are and what you're all about before they make a purchase decision. Because remember, online, they have no context for who you are or what you do. The social media is not a sales tactic. It's a familiarity tactic. And when you share what you're all about and you allow people to make a decision on you, it supports a purchase decision if that's something they're interested in. Or if they really don't like you, it lets people know up front, I'm not going to like this person. And they can self-select to not purchase your services. And that's okay. It's really negative when people who think they're getting one thing end up in your table and you're like, no, we're doing something else. They're like, ooh, I don't like it. So it's okay to be honest with who you are. And always remember, try to be positive. Other ideas for pro tips when you're doing social media. In the past, I tried to do one live a week to give people on Instagram a live video chance to interact with me. I've since replaced that with creating YouTube content. But the important thing is I try to do more deep dives into content with extended video feature or long form video. And that, what it does is I take questions from my social media. I take requests on topics people are interested in, and it lets me provide more in-depth explanation, understanding, analysis of things that people are really interested in, who are bought into what I'm doing. So I can really engage them and provide support if they do have support. Other pro tip, provide value before anybody gives you money. Like, this is what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to help whoever I can. Like, I don't care if I get paid for this video. My goal is to really help build long-term communities, help professional GMs, whether they're with RPG Club or trying to do it independently. I want people to be successful. If someone wants to work with us and thinks that that's a good fit, then that's awesome. But I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing this to help people. When we take that approach, or when I've taken that approach and our dungeon masters or game masters have taken that approach, we've seen positive effects in the player sign-up category, because people, they have kind of a BS detector. They can tell when people are just trying to sell them things or trying to do things for the wrong reasons. When you do it for the right reasons to help people, people will gravitate toward you in a much more authentic way. So those are my general outlines for how to kind of approach social media, and some pro tips for ideas of what you can create. But I want to show you my social media feed so you get an idea visually of what I'm talking about. So this is my Instagram feed. It's not a perfect Instagram feed. There's things I always try to do to get better. I've been on Instagram for with this feed now for almost 7 years, and I have a following that I love. I love and appreciate everybody who's a part of the following. There are certainly accounts that have much bigger followings than I do. But for what I'm trying to do, I feel like our followers and our community members are really invested and engaged, because we're trying to promote and create long-term positive communities of role-playing gamers led and supported by professional GMs, because we want GMs to be leaders in this space and not people that are driving people away. We want a positive environment for everyone to participate. And we want it to be a long-term experience. So with my Instagram, what I want you to notice visually is that, and this is one thing I noticed with so many social media accounts. This Instagram account, and I didn't start there. This was just a disaster for so many years. Everything is done intentionally. The bio is done intentionally to let people know exactly what we're about up front, so people can either decide yes or no as soon as they experience the content. It's not ambiguous. So how you communicate your work in your bio is very important. The broader and more vague it is, the less engagement or the less committed individuals you're going to get on your social media from everything that we've seen. When you scroll down and you start looking at content pieces, what you're going to notice, and it didn't start this way for me, you're going to notice that the text is easy to read from thumbnail format. And remember, most people engage on social media on their phone, so it's really hard for people to see the content. And I've noticed a lot of people on social media who do it, I guess, wrong when they're using thumbnail formats for reels. And what they do is they have really elaborate small text that are these really long ideas. What I've seen with reels, short form content, is the text that you have, the content piece this part of it right here, this should take less than 3 seconds to read to set up the idea. So this is a conversation about D&D, and then it's a little dialogue between two people on the meme talking about creating chaos. But it's easy to read, it's quick, and the ideas are relatively accessible. I have seen several memes that are really, really long on these short form contents where there's maybe 7 or 8 lines of text. Some of them work, some of them fail tremendously. And it's because it takes a long time for people to read the text. And I've noticed in general that reels that are much more effective tend to be accessible within 3 to 4 seconds. And there's some variety with the text on the screen. So notice the text at the top here sets up the premise, a conversation about D&D. And then initially it says, my friends who don't play. And then it says me. So there's some shifting context, and it's supporting how the video expresses the idea. The underlying text here is one of the John Mulaney's first character says, like, why do you all play this game? Like, what do you all play this game for? And then, oh my gosh, I forget this guy's name. Could somebody put in the comment who this guy is? I know him really well. I've seen all kinds of comedy stuff. He talks about, I play it for chaos. And so the text supports the dialogue. And I've noticed that's a really effective way to create a reel, is to have integrated parts related to being very clear in terms of the text up front, very accessible at the top, and then using shifting subjects in the video instead of just hitting everybody up front with it. So instead of just saying, I play D&D for chaos, this video explains that. Nobody's going to engage with that, because you hit it. If you're too obvious or upfront with the real content, it's not funny. It's just like, okay, thank you for communicating in a sentence what's going on. There needs to be a little bit of mystery, or there needs to be a chance for the video to hit in a creative way with something unexpected for people to appreciate it. Other things you're going to notice about my content feed, these are my threads, and I share threads as reels. I use a 4-second thread because it loops faster when you use a 4-second cut instead of doubling up the thread and going to 8 or 12 seconds. When somebody is typing something, because threads are designed for interaction. Threads are designed for people to sit there and type and respond to. So if I have this topic I tested on threads and I share it over to my Instagram, usually people are going to want to comment. So we've got lots of people commenting here, and that's positive. We want people to comment and engage so people can feel like they're involved in what's going on. When people are commenting, the reel loops in the background. And from an algorithm standpoint, everything I understand about Instagram is that algorithm then is going to positively reward both the account, but more importantly, the reel is there designed to support engagement, to support people voicing their opinion so that they can connect with you, and then you can respond to them, and then that's a positive thing. Like, people get to know you, you get to know them. So you'll notice that there's different types of content on my feed. There's the reels. I shared a picture of a mini recently because I'm trying to be accessible. I don't care that it only got 25 likes. It's more about saying, hey, here's something cool I like to do, sharing what I'm all about. And then the threads are there to promote more dialogue and engagement. And I try to vary it. But one thing that you'll notice that is consistent across my feed is it's easy to read, for the most part, the themes of content pieces. This one's a little lengthy, but I thought it was really fun. It was a fun reel so I didn't care in that case. I just wanted to write something pretty elaborate on that one. This is a little more elaborate, but notice there's good engagement. There's lots of comments. That's nice that it got a bunch of likes, but that's not what I'm worried about. I'm interested in providing variety. But notice in the thumbnails, let me pull this up here. The content, the description here on a reel is centered about 1/3 down, so it's easy to read from thumbnail. If somebody cannot read your description or your initial text in a reel, then they're not going to be able to engage with it. They're going to go, whatever, and they're going to move past it. So this is designed to promote accessibility. And I always use white block text with black outline, and I make sure to use my backgrounds from Midjourney so that they're accessible, because I can design things in Midjourney that reflect easy contrast, easy accessibility if you're reading something over the top. I think that is a good summary of where we're at. If you have some questions, if you have things you want to know, things that you're interested in, please let me know down below. Remember, the idea is summarizing everything. The idea is you want to be accessible. You want to be honest with your content. You want to give people a positive sense of who you are by also giving people a chance to make a decision on who you are. Like, do they like you or do they not like you? And it's okay for them to not like you. Don't sell. The worst thing you can do as a future professional GM is flood your feed or flood your media content with buy my game, buy my game, buy my game, buy my game. Those don't work. Those never work. Trust me, I've tested over $10,000 worth of ads. That doesn't work. You can try it differently. Your mileage may vary, but in everything we've seen, it hasn't worked for several years. And I don't think it's going to change because it's obviously an advertisement. And you're just saying, please spend money. Hopefully it'll work for you. People don't like that. People can sense it. So provide value up front. Give things away, share content that makes people laugh, create discussion, give ideas away to help people. And then once you've done enough of that, people will come to you. Folks have said to me, does that take longer? Yes, it takes longer. But if you want to build a business, this is a way to build a professional gaming business through media content that supports getting eyeballs and outreach to people who could be potential players. So I appreciate it. Let me know what questions you have below. If you're interested in working with us, obviously check the link in our bio. We've run 17,000 games. We have tons of professional GMs onboarding to our platform to share games with different players. We have a GM community that is supportive where we can, and I try to provide as much business content support as possible in that. But you don't have to be a part of our community to get support. If you need help, just drop a comment down below. I'll do whatever I can to help you. My name's Adam Scott for RPG Club. I'm really glad you're here, and I hope to see you again